Hey peeps! Welcome back to my channel. I'm Volt, creator of the webcomic The Alchemist Collective, a cult and tiefling enthusiast and plant collector. Today, I thought I'd do something a little different. As you can see, I'm in the process of making a traditional piece. Now, this is going to be a watercolor piece of my character Dionysios, or Dio, and I think I want to not speed up the video too much because it's just to emphasize the point I want to talk about today. Sorry if my hair gets in the way in some shots. I had to delete whole footage pieces because it was just my hair, and then you can kind of see what was going on, but I had to just leave that out because it wasn't filming the actual art. Anyway, I think this is a video that's going to be very important for me to make because in this video I'm going to be talking about the art process, slowing down, and the sacredness of the process. So I wanted to take a step back now that we're in a little bit past the mid-year mark of 2023 to kind of take stock of where I'm at and reassess the direction I'm headed. This summer was probably the busiest I've been since my time in college studying animation, and then the time after trying to break into storyboarding. And you know what, now that I really think about it, I really haven't truly slowed down, not since 2015 or so. But nowadays, between my comic projects, my day job, and running my art business with my partner, I have come to the conclusion that I just enjoy having projects to do. I enjoy being busy in those creative aspects, but with the way social media has been going lately, Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, I don't really want to talk about it in this video. I wanted to talk about slow art and the sacred time and space that's essential to carve out for this process, the actual making of the art. I think this has a lot of this has been lost in the complexities of sharing our art with the world and the scheduling, the timing, and the frequency in which we think we need to keep up to stay relevant. That has really harmed us in a lot of seen and unseen ways, and I don't think migrating from social media to social media is a viable solution, and Discord is just not the answer to the problem of what's going on right now, of constantly feeling like you need to be constantly plugged in. Up until recently, I've been feeling swamped with self-imposed projects. As I said, between making art for Royal Nightshade, my comics, the in-person events like the artist alleys, and my day job, I just want to make everything. But what I've been really needing lately is to just stop. Take a breath and reflect on what I'm actually doing and what I'm actually wanting to do. And one of those things is getting back to my roots, so to speak. I miss drawing on paper. I miss traditional media. And most of all, I missed experimenting with different tools and the limitations they bring. Things like ink and paint really forced me to slow down and consider the next way I want to approach a piece. If I were doing this digitally, I'd have a pretty good idea in which order I'd want all of my process to go. It's streamlined and optimized for speed. That isn't to say I don't consider how I want the finished piece to look when I'm drawing digitally, but there's something to be said for having limitless options and then reaching for the same tools over and over again anyway. I miss being surprised at my results, and let me tell you, the blue that I'm adding here sure was a surprise. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was trying to add a different colored light sorts because Dionysios is so brown, and I just wanted to add some kind of contrasting light, and that sure was a choice. I don't think I stuck too heavily with it, but I got a chance to really see how that looks, and I'm glad that this was acrylic gouache and not some kind of weird watercolor where I couldn't do it over, because gouache, you can just like keep applying layers, and if you make a mistake, you just paint over it. But yeah, this was a choice, and I'm not unhappy with it. I just kind of like, you know, I don't know. I just went with it in the hair more than the fur. But Dayo has like very, very short fur. It's not skin, it's like very short fur. But anyway, even to the like down to the detail of the paint drying in a totally different way than when I applied it wet. There's nothing quite like the tactile feedback you get from traditional media. And I say all this to say that there are certainly things that I'll always make digitally, like my comics, since I need consistent results from page to page, and it's easier to replicate those results if I'm doing it digitally. Or if I need to make certain assets and graphics, then the speed in which I can achieve these things digitally really comes in handy. But I think right now, I need to step away from the quickness of producing content and strike a balance between making art in both mediums, and to hell with staying relevant on several disjointed or dying platforms. Like I don't need that stress in my life right now. And so that's where this video was kind of born, I guess, you know? Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the sacred process, and you know, I know that these two words are kind of buzzwordy in a lot of spaces, like sacred and process. But when I mention the sacred process, I mean a couple of things. The setup of the space I intend to create in, the time I set aside to concentrate fully on the art, and the time I set to finish the session. So, number one, the setup of the space I intend to create in. This takes practice, and I'm still working on it myself, but I have to set myself up for success. The time I'm taking to clear off my space and get my supplies ready and to sit comfortably enough to concentrate must be factored into this moment. And this is just me getting into the mood or the energy to like actually sit down and paint, and this was one of those moments that I just so happened to film, which leads me to the time I set aside to fully concentrate on the art. Now, whatever goes on during this time is between me, the paper, and the gods that be. There's no thought of how this is going to look on social media, or how many people are going to like it, or whether or not I can get it done in time for whatever arbitrary deadline I've set for myself, or even what angle is right for the camera when I record my work. Recording can get tricky because while I don't mind doing it, it takes a great deal of fidgeting to get right. And this is why I keep that in part one of the sacred process, in my setting up of the space, and not during me trying to paint or whatever. I might move around the paper or the canvas a little bit so I can get a better angle of what I'm working on, so that I can work on it more efficiently. But I'm not focused on fidgeting or trying to get it right. Like, as you can see, my forehead is in the shot full on. This is like not a perfect video, guys. And I didn't want it to be. This is just me making my art and what it looks like in me making my art. You're like standing behind my shoulder. I mean, you're kind of close, but there goes my nose and me mixing the paint and trying to figure out what the right colors were for the paint. But yeah, I have to keep in mind that I'm doing this primarily for my own archiving and not to entertain a bunch of people for a couple of seconds. Also, during this time, I'm not scrolling socials for inspiration or chatting on Discord or any number of distractions. I'm making the work. I may not finish it all in one session, but that's okay. That's not the point. The point is not to finish as fast as possible. The point is to sit with my work and enjoy the time I'm spending with it, essentially. And I think a lot of people are missing that. And I kind of feel like I fell off the wagon of doing that myself when I was trying to, like, I guess, gain a following on social media or to be seen by employers or whatever. I was so caught up in the process of making work for my portfolio and then getting feedback to correct the work. And like, for doing that for storyboarding specifically, that took a lot of time out of my the energy that I actually wanted to create for other things. And I felt like I was constantly redoing and redoing and redoing the work, and it was just really exhausting. And I don't ever want to be in that hamster wheel again. I will say that I attended FlameCon. I tabled at FlameCon this past week, and let me tell you, I'm just going to make the characters and stuff that I'm proud of from now on, and not think about not think too hard about whether or not something will be popular. I was never somebody to follow trends or art memes or anything like that. I'm just really bad at it. When I go to sit down to try to make a trend for something, it's always been I don't know, I'm either late to it, or I just am not really feeling the wave. I'm just not a trendy person. I just make what I make and then hope other people like it, you know? So anyway, I wanted to talk about the third stage, which is breaking down the art supplies and cleaning the area to get ready for the next session. And this is just as important, because then I have things in place, unless my partner wants to work in that same area. He wants to make art where I'm making art. I set it aside for him so that he can have his session at the art table. But for the most part, I tend to lay out and clean up all my stuff and leave the painting there so that I can be ready the next time, and I won't have to set up as much or think about setting up, or I'll clean something up and then I'll wander off and start cleaning other things because, oh, by the way, I need to also do this. No, I'm ready. The stuff is there, prepared for me. I've also got this organization box, which I might actually film a tour of, where I have all my stuff in one box, inks, markers, pencils, erasers, sharpeners, that I have the tools that I need, my paint palette and some of my paint brushes that I use most often. And I don't have to worry about figuring out reaching for this and reaching for that, or reaching for the other thing that's in the next room. Everything is in this one organization box that I can carry around with me if I need to, or rearrange how I need to on the table while I'm working. But everything goes back in that box and put away so that I can have it all ready by the time I'm ready to do the next session. And this piece took me about 3 days to complete from the sketch. And I really like how it came out. I especially like the hair that I like, his tail and his hair that I painted. And I like how the colors blended ultimately. I was a little nervous about it, but I'm glad that I did it. And I just wanted to talk about slowing the hell down for just a second. Just a second, guys. And it really paid off in the end, because I got to play with the gold leaf after, and I got to try different effects with the plants growing out of his back and the mushrooms and whatnot. And I was just having a lot of fun with this piece, and I really wanted to share the process with you this time, because I might not always be up for making sure that the angles are right for the video, or trying to find out ways to make shorts out of it. I don't like the concept of pieces of content. You know how people are how I'm gonna make this art into 5 pieces of content, which I can then batch upload so that I can maximize, that kind of talk, that kind of speak. It really annoys me, to be honest. I especially don't like calling art pieces of content. It's pieces of chicken, or pieces of cheese, or pieces of candy, for people to consume or something. It's just, I've talked about this before on the channel. I don't like the word content replacing the word art, because it feels like it's forced, or kind of unnatural, to just then call what you're making content for the machine. I know other people have said the same thing I have. It's not really new, but it just gets to me. But I found it to be worthwhile to just do this piece and see where it takes me, and not calculate me planning it so much, I guess. I don't calculate how things are going to look, or this was an unplanned thing that I made that I wanted to carry through to the paint stage. It would have been left a sketch if I just wanted it to be, but I wanted to see, because I know that I'm a little bit out of practice with painting and I really missed painting, and so I just wanted to come back to it and see what was going on with my skill in that area. And I relearned a lot of stuff about the way this paint specifically behaves, and the way it interacts with watercolor and all that. And I'm really glad that I did this. It wasn't the most complex piece. It didn't have to be, though. It was just me making art and enjoying the process of making art, and sitting down to just really think about what I'm going to be doing next. I think now would be the perfect time to kind of, with the way social media is right now, like, really stop and think about what we're doing with our time and how we're using it. I don't want to spend the rest of my life, or the rest of my art career at the very least, figuring out ways to tap into an audience on social media. And this is primarily why, with my business, I've kind of changed to, I guess, doing events more than trying to like figure out the algorithms of various social media. I think I just wanted to kind of see how people actually respond to my work, and it's not just, a bunch of bots following and liking, because I'm having a serious bot problem right now on Twitter, and it just didn't, whatever this X thing is not working. It's just not working. But anyway, it's great to see the response of people in real life, how our art looks to people and how they respond to it, and the interactions that we have with real people at real events that want to be in these spaces. And it's really encouraging to see that, like, you don't have to rush this. You don't have to be like, okay, well, what's popular right now? We should be doing this, that, and the third. No, you do your thing. You don't have to actually rush it. And that's really reassuring to me, because I used to chase some weird arbitrary number of likes and how many eyes and notifications that I was getting, and it's just not realistic. It's not realistic, and your presence on social media does not reflect how people actually respond to your work. And I know this is not the most accessible thing to everybody right away, but like, going to events this year has done wonders for A, my self-esteem, B, my anxiety of getting out there, and C, reassuring myself that I am on the right path. I am making comics, I'm making things that I love, and I don't have to, I'm not doing this full time yet, but I would like to get to that point. But I don't have to do things like take commissions or, take on freelance work too much, because I have a stable idea of what it is that I want to do. And showing that to people that love it, and sharing with them, and them sharing with us, and like, just really being present instead of trying to chase something that doesn't really exist, if that makes any sense. When I was making this piece, I was thinking of ways to like make it, I don't know, I haven't painted in so long that this is just like kind of a very experimental like piece. but I wanted Dionysios to like be covered in like floral, earthy growth, especially coming out of his back. And I don't know, I just really like the idea of plants coming out of him because he's such a character that represents life, the living, healing, restorative properties and things like that. Even though he's from the desert, he very, very much is I guess the best way to describe it is he's a druid. And, you know, he has very powerful magic. He can make certain things grow, and like plants he can make grow, which is like, it's a rare power where he's from, but he's also very good at illusion magic. I don't know, I thought I did pretty well on this piece. I was practicing some of like how I apply paint marks and paint strokes, and I had a lot of fun, especially with the tail, as you can see. I'm just applying like little flowers to it and some shading, and I really like how this came out. This is also kind of a practice run of my setup in general. Not just lighting, but I forgot to tape down this piece, so it kept sliding around, and I'm like, oh no, you know. But I got it. I think I got it. This is a very loose. I didn't want to make my lines too tight or too like crisp on this painting. I wanted it to be a little bit softer because this is a very soft piece to me. I did add it later on. I don't think I filmed it, but I did add some midliner, some like basic lines to it to give it a little bit more form. But I have been, whenever I do work traditionally, I have been favoring lately just getting a very thin brush and doing the lines that way because it feels a little bit more naturalistic. It feels like it flows a little better if I do that instead of reaching for the liner pen. I'm glad that I pushed through with this piece because I tend to, when I do traditional work, and this is another point to me slowing down, is when I do traditional work, I might not always be the most confident about my skills in painting because I'll always stop at that weird, awkward, in-between phase of the painting where I'll have laid down the base layer and then I'll have applied like the first layer of shading or whatever, and then I'll be like, oh, it's ugly, it's never going to recover from this, and I'll stop in the middle of the piece and never pick it back up and never finish it. But I really wanted to push through just to see how it would turn out, and I'm glad I did. I have to learn how to just accept certain things as being a part of the piece, not a mistake, but just a part of the process that I'm not trying too hard to obsess over or quote unquote fix. It's just the way painting goes, and there's no undo button for any of this. So I'm just working on it, and that's just how it's going to look. I don't have to be happy with every little stroke that I make on the paper. I just have to move on and like just accept what's on the paper, because after I sketch it, there's no erasing. Not really. I mean, I can paint over the things I think could be corrected, but it's not really my thing to obsess over one part of a painting. I just want to look at it holistically, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, that's just how it's gonna have to be. So here you can see I actually added the gold leaf, but I didn't film myself applying it. I don't think I have footage for that, at least. But this is like the final step. I didn't really, because it was so finicky, and I was talking to Kel, and he kept making me laugh. And I just was like, stop making me laugh. I'm blowing the pieces of gold everywhere. But like I'm trying to like scrape and like, it's not that I don't like where the gold is, it's just I'm trying to like I guess, make it a little bit more embedded in there and like position it a little better after I added the adhesive. I like the way it turned out because I've just had this gold leaf sitting there and I've been wanting to use it in more pieces, and to do that I'd have to use it in I guess you would say more traditional pieces. So here I am just kind of like applying the gold leaf, and just let me know what you guys think. Things might not always turn out how I want them to. Like, I know that not everything turned out how I wanted to with this piece, but overall I'm really happy that I finished it. I'm happy with the way that it turned out. So yeah, I don't normally make videos this long. I just want to thank my patrons for supporting me, and I want to thank all of you for watching if you got this far, or if you're just like, drawing along with me, or painting along with me, or working on whatever you're working on, or having me in the background. Thanks for spending time with me here. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.